The presidential debate between former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris is now slated for September the 10th. As we've been telling you, it's supposed to be on the very extremely radically liberal George Stephanopoulos network of ABC News. But President Trump is already speaking out about ABC and their hostility towards his campaign and blasting Kamala Harris for trying to change the debate rules. They're even, by the way, suing George Stephanopoulos. Now, Politico is reporting the Harris campaign wants hot mics because they believe the VP can, quote, get Trump to lose his cool and say something, well, impolitic on mic. Because even with moderators on her side, Harris still can't answer questions or discuss policy positions, so just relying on Trump to make a mistake. Here with reaction, former 2024 presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy. Maybe you can settle the debate. I'm sorry. This is their requested network. They get the moderators they want. They got the rules they demanded. And last minute now, they want a rule change. I think Donald Trump does what Donald Trump does best, and that's go in, art of the deal, negotiate a second debate as part of a change. Thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think that a good option is to just show up at the Fox News debate, and if Kamala doesn't want to show up, tell the American people for an hour what your policy vision actually is for the country. The truth of the matter is, Sean, let's cut to the bottom line. There are going to be debates between now and November, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity.
The Wednesday after the day of that date that she rejected, I'm doing a town hall with President Trump in Pennsylvania. So, you know, he's
great. I think it's what we need is more authentic interaction. Yeah. With or without a moderator. I think that's what we need in the country. The reality, Sean, though, is how the media is covering for Kamala Harris's policy positions. Her policy deficits are the equivalent of Biden's cognitive deficits in that the media has covered up for both of them. The reality is when she says there's a tax on unrealized capital gains that she favors, they say, don't worry, that'll never pass. Abolishing private health insurance or the ban on fracking or on offshore drilling, she no longer supports that. So whatever it is, what you really hear from the media is not a defense of her actual policies, because so many of them, including the price controls, are indefensible. All they'll say is, don't take it seriously because it's never going to actually pass. That's why I think the debate is actually important. It forces Kamala Harris to own what her policy positions actually are. And the fact that we are under 75 days to an election where we don't even know where one of the two major presidential candidates stands on each of these issues is, I think, an actual undermining of American democracy that nobody's talking about.
But her campaign, according to Axios, is now saying, after we heard her policies that did not go over well, even with the Washington Post and New York Times about price gauging or gouging, or the fact that she laid out the largest tax increase in the history, not only of the country, but the world, and you mentioned unrealized capital gains, that they don't want to put out any more policy positions. There's nothing on her website about where she stands. On my website, I have her in her own words telling everybody where she stands, but we don't know if she's standing by her previous statements. So I'm not even sure in a 90-minute debate that you can get out that kind of information. It seems to me that we're going to have to bypass the corrupt media.
One of the reasons I respect even principled left-wing liberals who have different views than mine, like Bernie Sanders, is at least they will own their actual policy positions. We don't get that out of Kamala Harris. But the truth is, the more she talks about policy, the more she goes down in the polls. So they've taught her to stay away from it. It's our job now as a Republican Party, all the way up and down, to say, here is our alternative vision. She's not talking about policy where we can draw sharp contrast by saying we're the ones that actually do have a vision for the country. Sealing the border, ending rampant crime, growing the economy, and staying out of World War III. Those are policies that most Americans agree with. One of the things I respect about Donald Trump this cycle in particular is that he's offered real clarity on how to achieve those things. Kamala Harris hasn't. That's the contrast.
But on day one, she's going to solve the inflation problem that she said was transitory and secure the border, which she told us was secure. You didn't hear that?
Well, the reality is... The reality is on day one, this is almost Orwellian, right? You say the opposite thing enough times, you hope the voting public doesn't actually notice. On solving inflation, her plan of bringing Venezuelan-style price controls to the United States, we know where that story ends. They actually had worse undernourishment crises in nations like Venezuela after using price controls We don't want that in the United States of America. We don't want to turn our nation into Venezuela, either through illegal migration or their failed economic policies. Yeah. Let's do it the American way, and that's what Donald Trump's going to give us.
All right, Vivek Ramaswamy, we appreciate you being with us. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.